Well, good morning to all of
Good
you.
morning, sir.
Good morning. Uh, Narasimha, Vinay Kumar, Manisha,
Sir.
Lakshmi, Ari Kanti has joined. Um, yeah, so we'll start off because we don't have the luxury of long classes. These are short classes, so if we don't start on time, we'll have lesson time because the end is fixed. If we delay the beginning, then the syllabus will never get completed properly. Okay. We are basically looking at yesterday, we were looking at the Shastras. And in the Shastras, I had discussed with you about the Dharma Shastra, the Niti Shastra, the Nyaya Shastra. And then, without discussing the Tarka Shastra, I went to Mimamsas, if you want, because the Tarka Shastra is something that needs a little more of an explanation. And since there wasn't enough time then, and since I was hoping that, you know, I can finish off the Mimamsa bit, I went to Mimamsas. I almost finished it, but didn't quite finish it as such. So just let me quickly go back to that again and then move on. So if you look at Mimamsa, I told you yesterday, Mimamsas are those which are translated into English as reflections or critical investigations. Okay, so a critical investigation or a reflection basically means that you are trying to get to the truth of something. Okay, you're trying to understand if something is true or is it something which is not true. Okay, so that is the reflection not as in a mirror. Reflecting on is thinking. Okay, so mimamsas are those commentaries that have come out of critical thinking and reflection, right? These are commentaries basically on various things, on various aspects of life. And they purport to provide us with certain knowledge because the subject matter of any particular mimamsa is something which has been thought about, which has been uh, considered properly and critically investigated before saying, yes, this is the correct thing. And then you share it with people. So the ancient Indians were very careful, extremely careful, in fact, to make sure that they were uh, considering all aspects of something before uh, deciding to present it to others to read. So that is the reason why when people say that a Mimamsa is read and you have taken something out of a Mimamsa, people will say that this is certain knowledge. It is certain knowledge because it has been well considered, well deliberated upon within oneself, it could be, or with others, uh, and therefore has a truth value. Now let's finish off the final Shastra, the Tarka Shastra. Now, Tarka is that which is logic. Okay. Uh, except for a few people like me, most of us are born with the ability to think logically. Okay. Uh, people like me have to learn how to
And
think.
no, sir. All have to
No, sir.
learn.
Hmm?
All people have to learn.
No, Kavya, you people already know. I have to learn.
No. No, sir. We have to learn from you.
Thank you. Okay, so the Tarka Shastra is something that tells you methods of logic. Okay, you have to be methodical in how you use logic. One example of Tarka and Tarka, the product of the Tarka Shastra is that which is called the Tripada Tarka. Tripada is 3 steps. Okay, not 3 feet, 3 steps. 3 step logic. Okay, that is called Tripada Tarka. This has an equivalent in ancient Greece as well. Okay, in English today, we call it syllogism, Syllogism, syllogism. Uh, the Greeks would have called it syllogism. So instead of the Y, there would be a U, syllogism. That was their pronunciation. But now we say syllogisms. So let's not go into archaic things. Let us stick to modern uh, ways of looking at syllogisms. But a syllogism is nothing but a tripada tarka. You can have tripada tarka both in the inductive and in the deductive sense of the terms. Okay. If you use inductive reasoning in logic, okay, in the tripada tarka, then you move from the particular to the general. Okay, from the particular to the general. How is it? You basically observe something which is a tree. The tree is green in color. So you say, this is the first step. This is a tree, is step number one. Step number two is, this is green in color. And from this comes the generalization, which is all trees are green in color. Okay. So when you do the inductive kind of reasoning, you start with the particular and end with the universal. Okay, people will say general, but I would ask you to use universal. So if this is a tree and this is green in color, then all trees are green in color. Now there is the opposite of this, which is the deductive. Okay, which is something derived more from mathematics. Okay, where you start with a generalization, a hypothesis, and go on to prove the hypothesis. You say all trees are green in color. This is green in color, and therefore this is a tree. This is the inverse of the inductive process, the deductive process. Now, what one has to understand is that tarka or logic will tell you that when you are using the inductive, something is true till such time that you find the opposite of what you're saying as an instance. Okay, so let me give you an example of my stupidity. And I was really stupefied by this. I was stupefied in the sense that I realized how stupid I was. I used to give the example that this is a crow, this is black in color, and therefore all crows are black in color. I used to give this as an example. Until one day when I was watching, I have this great fascination for the animal kingdom. I'm not so fascinated by plants, but animals fascinate me endlessly. I can sit and watch programs on animals throughout the day. So one of my favorite pastimes is to sit and watch Wild Discovery, Wild National Geographic, all those programs where you see wild animals. And in the National Geographic channel, they showed this crow in New Zealand, which had half its body in white color. Okay. And that is when I realized I was stupid, because I never thought there were crows anywhere which were not all black. Okay. I thought there were different kinds of crow. There was a crow, there is a jackdaw, there is a raven. All of them are black. And I never thought that there could be an exception to this rule that there is a white crow. okay, or a crow that has a bit of white in it, right? So the inductive reasoning is true to the point, till the point that you find that, you know, there is something else that disproves it. That's a problem with inductive reasoning. Okay. Uh, Deductive reasoning, on the other hand, will basically tell you all crows are black in color. This is black in color, and this is a crow. Now, let's apply this example that I was talking about. I suddenly see this crow, which is half white, and I go tell the person who told me that all crows are black in color, and this is a crow, so this is black, and therefore it's a crow. Now I'll say, listen, here is something which is not completely black. It's black and white. Now the nature of deductive reasoning is that it can reject, it can basically reject that particular instance of that bird which is black and white. It will say this is not a crow, because the rule is that all crows are all black in color. Okay, if this is not black completely, then this is not a crow. Must be some other type. Give it another name. Okay, and Tarka of the Indian variety, because of our affinity with mathematics, chose deductive form of reasoning. Forget this Tripada Tarka. There are other forms of Tarka also. I cannot go into the details of all those right now. But the truth value of something was established through mathematics. So logic has dollops of mathematics in it in India, and therefore you can say that Tarka Shastra is also mathematical in its content and in its nature. And that is how people were able to basically arrive at absolute truths. Now, if you see a counter instance, they are not dismissing the counter instance. They're saying, go and investigate what that is. Go and investigate what that is. Is it really a crow if it is black and white? Go and investigate. Is it an exception to a rule? Or is it something which is widely prevalent, in which case give it another name? Okay, so you will basically see that mathematics is the foundation of Tarkashastra. So whether it is calculation of astronomical events like eclipses, or comets, the frequency with which the comets would return, all of this was done mathematically. And that is why the knowledge that is pursued through Tarka is not about human society alone. Human society is a small part of the system of knowledge that the Tarka Shastra puts in. The Tarka Shastra deals with the entire universe, so it is truly cosmological. We've seen all of these things here, the things that you're seeing on the slide in front of you. Okay, all of them are in some way or the other cosmological, but nothing is so starkly cosmological as Tarka Shastra. Okay, so our great mathematicians, Aryabhatta, Bhaskaracharya, all these people were completely aware of the minutest details of Tarka Shastra. And that is what made them such wonderful astronomers. I also talked about astrology. Now, astrology is also a part of Tarka Shastra. The difference between astronomy and astrology, if you ask a Westerner, the Westerner will tell you that astrology is alchemy. Alchemy is something which is not a fully developed science, whereas astronomy is a science, fully developed. If you ask an Indian astronomer, they'll say that these are two different things and both are fully developed. Because the cosmos, the universe is a life system, everything, every occurrence in the cosmos has linkages to something else. I don't know if you've heard of the Halley's Comet. It is supposed to come once in 76 years, I think. So I have seen it once. I won't see it again. Okay. This particular comet, according to astrology, when it makes its appearance, it will take away an extremely important person from this world. A great person will die. And every time the Halley's Comet has come, I am told some great person has passed away. Okay. So that is astrology. And astrology is linking up all the life forms that constitute the universe. Today, if you go to an astrologer and ask him to predict your future, and if he predicts your future, it will be all wrong. Okay, please believe me, it will be completely wrong. Don't say that astrology is bunkum. Nonsense. You don't say those things. Because if somebody doesn't know how to use a tool, the problem is not the tool. The problem is the person. Okay, if I don't know how to teach political science, the problem is not with political science, but it is with me, that I don't know how to teach or use political science. Now, what you must understand is that today astrology stands discredited because there are all half-baked knowledge people who practice it. Now, it's like homeopathy, right? You can go to a homeopathy shop and you'll find a book that says homeopathy for all. You take that book, you buy that, and it says if you are having if you're having joint pains, then take Roostox and you take it. And if you again, if you have bloating sensation in your stomach, it says take Carbo Veg, so you take it. And sometimes it may work, sometimes it may not work. Because first and foremost, homeopathy doesn't have a scientific basis. Incidentally, neither does allopathy. It doesn't have a scientific basis. The only system of medicine in the world that has a proper scientific basis is Ayurveda. It is the only system in the world. Unfortunately, due to the intervention of colonialism in India, Ayurveda suffered a setback, and a lot of elements of Ayurveda were lost. One has to give a great deal of credit to that family in Kottakkal in Kerala that is trying to revive Ayurveda. And if they succeed, then you'll have the science back. But I have my doubts because the breaks are too many. But we're not discussing Ayurveda here. The same thing with astrology. People used Vedic maths, Vedic mathematics in order to make birth charts, Janma Kundalis. Today you use a computer. The computer has no idea about what Vedic mathematics is. And it makes a Kundali based in this new maths that we have on a daily basis. And because of that, none of the predictions come true. None of the predictions come true. Okay? It's only those people who are conversant with Vedic mathematics and Vedic Tarka, only those people can practice successful astrology. And mind you, this is not the domain of Brahmins. Tarka Shastra can be studied by anyone and everyone. Astrology, astronomy, all of these can be studied by anyone and everyone. It is a truly cosmological thing, and because of its cosmological content, it does not exclude anybody from, not even the Shudra. It does not exclude even the Shudra from studying the Tarka Shastra. In fact, the Vedas also can be studied by everyone. It is much later that the corruption has come in, and this corruption has somehow created a situation wherein we are, dealing with a with a system which is based in misunderstanding rather than correct understanding. And it has been exploited by some people to their advantage. But otherwise, none of these, the Upavedas, the Vedangas, the Shastras, the Vedas, in fact, the whole of the Ashtadasa Vidya, which we are talking about, all these things can basically be studied by anyone. Okay. There are a lot of distortions that have crept in. Because please remember one thing. I told you yesterday that the ancient Indians did not have tools of any kind, neither did they have any ways of writing or recording what they studied, what they knew. So the transmission of knowledge in the ancient period, right up to the medieval period, that when ultimately the Devanagari script was applied to uh, Devanagari script was applied to Sanskrit. Till that particular time, it was just transmitted by one person to another person. And the Brahmins took advantage of this and denied this knowledge to someone. Somebody is playing drums in my ear. Uh, so anyway, this is how it sounds when a sound check is happening with a band. The bass drum, which you kick, it goes poop, poop. That's what I'm feeling in my ear. Madam Sultanpur, I think you need to switch off your mic. Okay. Somebody needs to switch off their mic. Anyway, we're running out of time. Now, the Tarka Shastra is not only about cosmological events, it is also about sociological things. Okay? The understanding of society is something that is based in the understanding of cosmology. So if you look at it, it is like a trickle down effect. Okay, a trickle down effect in the sense that that which begins with the whole cosmos, the entire universe, it really can come down to one person. It can ultimately be the same logic that you will apply to the universe, you will also apply to a person. Somebody please switch off your mic. Somebody's mic is creating a disturbance. If you don't mind, please switch it off. Hmm? Please switch off your mic if you don't mind. It's becoming difficult to teach. It's very distracting. Okay, and
Pooja, sir.
hmm?
It's Pooja's mic.
That's what I thought. Yeah, she switched off now. Yes, right. Thank you, Kavya. Um, right. So if you look at the Tarka Shastra, it basically is the exemplar of one of the tenets of the ancient world. Okay, one of the tenets of the ancient world is that anu, atom, okay, anu can, the atom can contain within itself the whole universe. An atom is a very small particle, but it can contain in itself the whole universe. To make this more simple to understand, people normally give another example. They say one drop of water can contain all the oceans within itself. One drop of water can contain all the oceans within itself. It's easier to understand. I agree with that. But it is not a correct thing, because what these people are saying, that every atom is the Brahman, the Anu is the Brahman, it's the Brahmanda. So what does that basically mean? The logic that the logic that goes into the making of the entire big universe, whose size is inestimable, okay, whose size is inestimable, that universe can be contained in one little anu or atom. And when you look at that anu, when you understand that anu, then you understand the universe. And it is therefore every human being is considered to be a universe in himself or herself. There is a statement, Aham Brahmasmi. This has been told to us as an arrogant thing, that I am the universe. Aham Brahmasmi means I am the universe. People say this is arrogance. Aham is arrogance. It's not. Aham is the self. When you say I am the universe, what you're basically saying is that whatever principles went into the constituting of the universe, into the making of the universe, those very principles are there in me as well. Okay, those very principles are there in me as well. So some bright fellow one day when I was making this point asked me a question, we die. Does the universe die? Yes, it does. What is pralaya? Pralaya is universe dying. But apart from that, stars die. Supernova explosions, as they are called, is a death of a star. No, I'm not talking about film stars, I'm talking about stars. Okay, and new stars are born, new galaxies are born. So the universe also has birth and death, just like you and me. So I'll stop here today. This is the Tarka Shastra. I'll talk about this a little more tomorrow. It says less than a minute, so I don't want to stop mid-sentence like I did yesterday. I'll just talk about a little tomorrow and move on. I'll talk about for not more than 1 or 2 minutes. So thank you very much. It's been very kind of you.